Fellow Owens and staff, parents, guardians, and especially you, Year 11s and 12s. Good evening. Hello. My name's Alex Ngo. I'm Ngo & Sons Director of UCAT. I'm delighted to see you joining us tonight to see such strong interest in dentistry and medicine. I'm excited because I know I'm in the presence of many great future doctors and dentists. Dr. Trung and I both know how competitive and challenging it is to get into medicine nowadays. That's why we want to help you. I was in your position more than 10 years ago, a high school student, driven, hungry, incredibly motivated. That feeling I remember. So tonight, I'm here to help you. I'll share with you insights about how to get into medicine and what you need to do to get in. In the next 1.5 hours, I'm going to discuss these 13 points with you. 1, my story. 2, why medicine, pathways into medicine, Australian medical schools, UCAT exam, ATAR, medicine interview, and medicine student life. Medicine career, tips on how to maximize your chances. Plan B, what if you don't get in after year 12? The Ngo & Sons intensive UCAT course, the online question bank and mock exam. And finally, Ngo & Sons medicine interview training. Then we'll have some time for questions. While I focus on medicine, the principles and ideas apply also to dentistry. First of all, my story. I graduated from Helston Agricultural High School. You know, the farm school with the attractive khaki uniform. Yes, I went there. But I actually didn't study medicine right after year 12. In year 12, my first UMAT exam, I failed miserably. I was underprepared. I was shattered. The next year, with resoluteness, I studied pharmacy, worked hard to maintain a high distinction average, resat UMAT, now UCAT, got 99th percentile, then sat interviews all around Australia, and ultimately got into UNSW medicine. I was 18 years old and also juggling 3 jobs. That year was tough. But you know what? It was great for personal growth. Failing UMAT ignited a fire, a hunger within me to push. I realized 3 things. 1, I realized I'm not perfect. 2, that if you work hard and you mentally tell yourself, I can do this, you will get there. 3, that UMAT can be prepared for, but existing UMAT companies were not doing a great job at teaching. My friends and I had bought the online materials, attended the workshops, and we didn't achieve success. Little technique was taught. I also did not agree with some of their values, encouraging students to pursue medicine for material greed. I thought, no one is really teaching this that well. I'm sure I can do a much better job. So that's what I did. I started mentoring students in my first year of medicine, achieved great results, and haven't stopped since. I went on to graduate with my bachelor's and decided I wouldn't be a doctor. I realized I enjoy being an educator so much that I should do it full time. It's where I feel most effective, useful, and fulfilled. For over the past 10 years, I'm grateful to be able to say that I've mentored over hundreds of applicants into medicine. But I know there is still a lot of work to be done, and I want to continue helping as many students get in as possible. I couldn't find a photo of myself in Helston's khaki uniform, so instead I'm showing you Robert Owen and this adorable koala. Why medicine? When I mentor students, I need to know why they're pursuing medicine. This is the most important question you need to ask yourself. Why are you pursuing medicine? Possible reasons. I'm sure I've mentored students who pursue medicine because they think it will land them a nice house and car and loads of cash. or we'll help them get the guy or girl of their dreams, or they like the doctor title and prestige, or maybe they've watched one too many medical dramas, The Resident, Grey's Anatomy, The Good Doctor, Dr. Sean. Good series, I believe. And believe medicine is as romantic as represented. It's not my position to judge them or stop them. I'm just hoping financial wealth, status, and adulation are not your main motivators. Because while money can buy a lot of things, it may not buy lasting fulfillment. It may not offset the sacrifices, the stress, and responsibility that comes with medicine. Instead, I would ask you, would you enjoy helping people with their health, dealing with people every day, science, problem solving, teamwork, studying, a lot of it, assignments, exams? Would you be willing to sacrifice personal and family time to dedicate your life to medicine? In today's time, more than ever, we see the value of frontline medical staff. They're doing everything they can to protect us. There's a famous scene in the Spider-Man movie where Uncle Ben tells young Peter Parker, remember, with great power comes great responsibility. As a doctor, you will have great responsibility looking after human lives. You may be wondering at this stage, why did I choose medicine? As a child, I was fascinated with science. When I was in year 5, I'd get really excited looking at my sister's textbooks. The photos of biology and the human body just intrigued me. Shortly after high school began, my uncle suffered an eye injury whilst trying to save a drowning boy in the swimming pool. Being the kind man that he was, he dived into the pool to help the boy, but the boy, in his panic, frantically thrashed around and scratched Uncle's right eye. Sadly, despite many operations and corneal transplants, his eye could not be repaired. And today, he can't see out of that eye. My uncle is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. When I was a child, he'd take my sister and I to the local park and we'd buy ice cream from the neighborhood ice cream truck. So every time I tell this story, it makes me feel bad for him. So inspired by the care and compassion the health professionals showed Uncle through his ordeal, my sister and I decided to pursue health, specifically eye health. My sister went on to become an ophthalmologist, and I decided I wanted to become an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon. Now you know my story. 3, pathways into medical school. Now I'm going to tell you how to get into medicine in Australia. There are 2 main pathways and both require an admission test. This is on your handouts. As Year 12s, we start at the left-hand side. If you wish to study medicine right after high school, which is most, if not all of you, we take the top path where the star is. In Year 12, you will need to sit a 2-hour computer-based exam called the UCAT. Your medical degree will be 5 to 6 years. If you wish to study postgraduate medicine, that's when you study a bachelor degree first, and it could be anything, medical science, engineering, law, arts, commerce, before you study medicine. Then we take this bottom path. And all up, it's about 7 to 8 years. You'll notice that there is an exam. Instead of UCAT, we have GAMSAT. GAMSAT involves 4 hours and 40 minutes testing time, includes multiple choice and essay writing. Now, clearly, GAMSAT is more involved than UCAT, which is why I suggest we take the top path, sit UCAT, and complete medicine at least 2 to 3 years quicker. Australian medical schools. In Australia, there are 21 medical schools. In New Zealand, 2. These are also on your handouts. In New South Wales, we have University of New South Wales, Western Sydney University, which has a combined course with Charles Sturt now, starting this year. University of Newcastle and New England, that's the Joint Medical Program, JMP. University of Sydney, that's for the really bright cookies among yourself with a really high 99 ATARs. The universities with asterisks are the postgraduate courses. University of Notre Dame, Wollongong, Australian National University in Canberra, and Macquarie University. Then there are the interstate universities. In Victoria, we have Monash, University of Melbourne, which has a related course with La Trobe, and Deakin University. In Queensland, we have University of Queensland, James Cook University, Griffith, which has a combined course with Sunshine Coast University, and Bond University, who are having their interviews next week. Adelaide, University of Adelaide and Flinders, Western Australia, UWA and Curtin University, and Tasmania, UTAS. Now, to apply, you will need to put down the medicine courses in your 5 preferences in UAC, the UAC, the University Admissions Centre, or VTAC for Victoria, QTAC for Queensland, SATAC for South Australia. You get the gist. WA, WATAC? No, nice try. It's TISC. Yes, I know, intuitive. It stands for Tertiary Institutions Service Centre. All the undergraduate ones in New South Wales, that is UNSW, Western Sydney, Newcastle, also require you to apply directly to the university, and you may need to submit a written application. So make sure you check each university's website when applying. For example, with Western Sydney, they have a medical admission questionnaire. James Cook in Townsville, Queensland, they have a 4-question written application. Here's a list of the dental schools in Australia. There are 9. Sydney, Charles Sturt, Melbourne, La Trobe, Queensland, James Cook, Griffith, Adelaide, Western Australia. 9 dental schools versus 21 medical schools. Here's the UNSW Medical School. And here's the UWS Medical School. I show you UNSW and WSU because they are the 2 most popular medicine courses for New South Wales applicants. Set your eyes on these. Now, this is the pathway slides again. And I just want to talk more on the undergraduate pathway because it's most relevant to you. Your chances of getting into medicine, your 13 years of high school, primary school, kindergarten education boils down to 3 scores. Number 1, your UCAT. 2, your ATAR. 3, your interview. And you will get the interview if your UCAT and ATAR are competitive enough. And then you finally get the offer place. Let's talk about the official UCAT exam. The first score you get in July and August. So in Year 12, you need to sit the UCAT. The UCAT stands for the University Clinical Aptitude Test. It is an aptitude test, meaning skills-based, you do on the computer. It goes for 2 hours, and there's 233 multiple choice questions. 2019 was the first year it ran in Australia, but it's been in the United Kingdom since 2006. A completely different game to HSC and VCE, and even the most intelligent students may struggle if they do not prepare adequately. Bookings open tomorrow, 1st of March, and close 17th of May. If you're in Year 12, you should register tomorrow to get the date and location you want. So UCAT runs from the 1st of July to the 11th of August, 2021. My advice is to book during your school holidays, and that's the 20th of June to 11th of July, 2021, or later in July and August, to give yourself time to prepare. Check when you have trial exams and plan accordingly. New South Wales testing locations, convenient ones are Parramatta and Sydney, but also elsewhere like Newcastle, Orange, and Wagga Wagga. The cost is $305 or $199 if you have a healthcare card or pensioner card. You need to bring ID, your current passport or driver license, and anything else, your wallet, your phone, goes into a locker. It's a high security facility. They have security cameras, and they even pat you down to check that you don't have any recording devices or notes on you. The 5 UCAT subtests. The left-hand side are the areas tested, and I've included in the right-hand column the number of questions and the time, just to give you a sense of how quick this exam really is. So for example, in verbal reasoning, there's 44 questions in 21 minutes. That's only 28 seconds per question. In the second subtest, decision making, there's 29 questions in 31 minutes. That's just a little over 1 minute, 64 seconds. The third subtest is quantitative reasoning. There's 36 questions in 24 minutes. That's 40 seconds. 4, abstract reasoning. This is the puzzle section. There's 55 questions in 13 minutes. So you only get 14 seconds per question. It's killer, really. And the last subtest, the situational judgment, is 69 questions in 26 minutes. And we have about 22 seconds per question. This situational judgment involves evaluating interpersonal interactions, specifically the appropriateness of actions and the importance of considerations when making decisions. This is what the UCAT screen looks like. It's blue, it's multiple choice on the right-hand side. You can see there's a question, this is verbal reasoning. There's a calculator on the top left-hand side. There's also a flag for review on the right. And on the bottom are the navigation buttons. The next, and also if you want to finish the exam, an exam. The focus of today's talk is not so much teaching UCAT techniques. That's the UCAT course. But I thought I'd introduce you to each of the subtests with questions provided by official UCAT. The first is verbal reasoning, which involves reading 11 passages. So there's a passage, continues, quite a long passage. And then after each passage, we get 4 questions. So Darwin's title of his book, The Blind Watchmaker, is appropriate because ABCD. Now with decision making, there are 6 types of questions, and this is just one type. And this is what we call syllogisms, or what I call yes-no conclusions. So they'll give you some statements. All tourists who like fishing also like sailing. All the tourists who at the resort were Europeans. No tourists at the resort like trekking. And you just kind of work out whether these statements are true or false. Yes, if true, no, if false. The third subtest is quantitative reasoning, and this is the mathematical problem-solving station. Data may be presented in tables, or it might be a paragraph structure. Again, you can see all these are multiple choice. The fourth subtest is abstract reasoning and involves puzzles and patterns. And you need to have a technique to really know what to look for. In 14 seconds, you need to be able to answer the question. So they'll give you these 2 sets of patterns. And within these, you need to work out that pattern and answer whether this test shape belongs to set A, set B, or whether this test shape belongs to neither. This is just one type. There are 3, 4 other types of abstract reasoning questions. And finally, the last subtest, situational judgment. You get a situation involving a medical student, perhaps, and his supervisor. And you're asked whether his actions are appropriate or not. The medical student, Sen, has been assigned to work with the consultant, Margaret, on a hospital ward for 1 week. The purpose of this attachment is for Sen to gain insight into the work that Margaret undertakes and assist in his development. At the start of the week, Margaret assigns Sen personal tasks, which do not appear to be related to Sen's clinical development. These tasks will take at least 2 or 5 days to complete. And then you're asked, how appropriate are each of the following responses by Sen in the following situation? Question 7. Should Sen complete the assigned personal tasks for Margaret without mentioning that they do not seem to be related to his developments? Is it very appropriate to say, no, this is not good for me? Appropriate, but not ideal, inappropriate, or very inappropriate? And then after you finish the UCAT, a 2-hour exam, you get emailed your results within hours. The raw scores for each of the 4 subtests are converted into a scaled mark out of 300 to 900. The first 4, verbal reasoning, decision-making, quantitative reasoning, abstract reasoning, are totaled out of 3,600, 4 times 900. So you get a score between 1,200 and 3,600. Your aim is to get a score above 90th percentile, because that typically translates to a score above 3,000 out of 3,600. The results last for 1 year. Even if you do really well, you can't reuse your score. So this person got a total of 3,160. We add up the first 4 sections and we get this score. The situational judgment station is not really included in the score, and different universities assess and use different sections or the total scores or situational judgment differently. So for example, some universities might just look at the total score and ignore this. Other universities might double the weighting of verbal reasoning or apply a heavier weighting because they want you to be a very strong reader and have strong English skills, language skills. So this person here got 3,160, which according to last year's statistics, meant that he or she was in the 90th percentile, 98th percentile. This means he or she scored better than 98% of all 2020 candidates, which is a terrific score. So we've had our break. Please check whether you got these answers, whether you got it correctly. Are we all refreshed? Good. I have one more question for you, and you only get 30 seconds. Are you ready? All of us, let's try a mock decision-making question. A man pointing to a portrait exclaimed, "I have no sisters or brothers, but that man's father is my father's son." That man's father is my father's son. The man in the portrait, who is he? Is it A, his father, his son, himself, or his uncle? Please take a moment. Who thinks it's A? Who thinks it's B? C, himself? Or D, his uncle? The answer is, I'll tell you later. Okay, I'll tell you now. Later or now? All right, now. The answer is C, it's himself. I'm kidding. The answer is B, it's his son. Now, how do you actually do this? You need to work backwards. That man's father is my father's son. My father's son is essentially the guy looking at the portrait. My father's son, your father's son, is me, you, right? Is me. So that man's father is me. Meaning that man must be my son. That was just an appetizer, and the real UCAT's much harder. Okay, ATAR, the second score we need to get, and this is the one you get in December after HSC. Your UCAT score determines the ATAR you need to get an interview. Generally, if your UCAT score is 99 percentile, excellent, then your ATAR score needs to be around 96. If your UCAT score is around 90th percentile, which is still quite good, I mean, you beat 90% of the candidates sitting UCAT, your ATAR score needs to be a little higher. It needs to be 99. As you can see, UCAT is extremely important. And with a great UCAT score, the ATAR requirement does not need to be ridiculously high. A good UCAT can make your life in Year 12 much easier. Prerequisite subjects. So English, definitely. Medical schools in New South Wales generally don't require you to do chemistry. Those in Queensland do. So I strongly recommend chemistry, just as a backup if you're willing to go to Queensland to study medicine or dentistry. And if you don't have chemistry, but wish to study in Queensland, you'll need to complete a bridging course via TAFE or an accepted university course. The medicine interview. If you get a competitive UCAT score, you'll get invited to interviews. And it's an interesting time because you'll be flooded with email invitations and you'll think, wow, all these universities want to meet me. However, it is important at this stage not to be complacent. Interviewers don't discriminate against you based on your ethnicity, your affluence, your parents' jobs, even if they're professors, doctors, or dentists themselves. What they are looking for is emotional intelligence. Interviewers want to see that you're normal and personable, understandably, that you're mature and passionate about medicine, that you want it for the right reasons. As my professor said to me in his French accent, Alex, we are not just looking for the creme de la creme. We are looking for the double creme, the very, very best. Now, how many of you have sat interviews before? I'm assuming many of you haven't had much interview experience. And those of you that have, I'm sure you have never sat anything quite like the medical interview before. The medicine interview is not a standard job interview. It is not a meet and greet. Hello, let's have a coffee, chat, laughter together, ha ha. No. There's no how are you going, where are you from, oh, do you have a puppy? No. The medical interview is very technical and involved. The interview structure varies amongst universities. It may be semi-structured, where you get asked standard questions, or in the form of a multiple mini-interview, MMI. In MMI, there are multiple stations. You wait outside each station, like in this photo, and when the bell rings, you get to go inside. You may need to watch videos, role play, answer questions, or deliberate hypothetical scenarios. They're usually 7 to 10 stations, each about 5 to 8 minutes, depending on the university. Nowadays, most universities are moving towards this MMI style. They're fun, I think. You walk into a room to meet 1 or 2 strangers, your interviewers, and for the next 8 minutes, you do your best to impress them. Your ability to communicate, solve problems, demonstrate good ethics, judgment, passion for medicine, all of these are assessed here. Semi-structured is where they ask you questions and there's no rotating around different circuits. So you may be in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Your interviewers would be academic staff. There could be doctors, there could be lay community members. In terms of what you may be asked, the interview content could be standard questions, videos, role-playing, acting, hypothetical scenarios, de-technicalizing scientific articles, teaching, debating, puzzles, even essay writing, I've seen. Let's look at typical standard interview questions for medicine. Why do you want to study medicine? Why do you want to become a doctor and not a nurse? How would you describe yourself? Have you ever let someone down? And would you act differently? So the questions, for example, like why medicine? When I train students, I help them articulate their personal story, and specifically three things, like where did their idea first came from, how they have further consolidated that interest, and importantly, what qualities they feel they have that makes them suitable for medicine. Having a structure allows students to better, articulate their responses. Here's a scenario question. You're a medical student and your close friend tells you he's been cheating in his exams. What do you do? So I'll repeat this slide again because it's important. You need all three. The UCAT, a strong ATAR, and then to pass the interview before you actually get the interview offer place. Congratulations. Now some cool stuff. What it's like to be a medical student life. You finish high school as seniors and you start university again as juniors. You are a small fish in a vast ocean. While you enjoy your newfound freedom, you also quickly realize that no one is going to hold your hand or spoon feed you. University classes are often disorganized. Assessments are abundant. And if you fail, you will need to sit that exam or repeat a course. For example, I studied with a guy who got 99.95 ATAR. State ranks with HSC subjects, a killer top UMAT score. But in his first year, he failed some courses. University is very different to high school. You're responsible for you. Here's a typical month for a first and second year medical student. You may have 3 to 5 days, starting from 9 a.m. and some ending at 5 p.m. For me, in some weeks, total 22 contact hours to first year, but it gets heavier towards the final years when you do hospital placements. You may have 12-hour days, single days, 12 hours, starting from 7 a.m. and finishing at 7 p.m. You get home, shower, have dinner, study, sleep, and then wake up the next day at 7 a.m. again, rinse and repeat. University lectures, lots of assignments and exams and studying. Lots of social events and parties too. I'm not much of a party person, so I'm not here in these koala onesies. Interviewing and examining patients, scrubbing up and assisting in surgeries, travel around Australia and abroad. I was able to board the Royal Flying Doctor Service in Broken Hill, New South Wales. We flew on it to rescue a boy who had a motorbicycle accident on his farm. Here I am in Chinchilla, rural Australia, rural Queensland, the melon capital of Australia, with my general practice mentor and his staff. It was around Christmas time. Ladies and gentlemen, I was the only Asian in town, and they were so thrilled to have me that they put me in their local newspaper. See? One of the most useful things I've gained from medicine is medical knowledge. How to diagnose, prevent, and treat conditions. In medicine, you get first-hand exposure to the human condition, life. You get to assist in delivering babies, interview adult patients with serious mental health illnesses, and sit alongside the patients who are dying. These experiences are priceless. They matured me and will certainly mature you. On that note, when I was in 5th year, I was able to quickly catch that my grandma had a serious heart problem one night and take her to the emergency immediately. Her face was flushing red and her fighting for breath under the oxygen mask. Guys, I thought she was going to die that night, but she's good now. And if I hadn't studied medicine, I wouldn't have had known about atrial fibrillation or any potential life-threatening condition. In previous years, she'd attend, but now she's at an age where she can't sit too long. So this year I told her, Grandma, you can stay home. I'll put on some Bold and the Beautiful for you. It's her favorite. And I'll show you some photos when I come home. Medicine career. Medicine is a long game. After you survive medicine and medical school, you need to do some more training. It's a 10+ year journey. You start as a medical student, which is about 4 to 6 years, depending on the undergraduate or postgraduate pathway. Then you graduate working as an intern for a year before being a resident medical officer for at least another year. Then when you decide you want to specialize, you're what we call a registrar, and you get onto a training program, whether that's general practice, anesthetics, dermatology, ophthalmology, cardiology. And during your training, you may also decide you want to do some more research, and that's the fellowship. And after all of that training, you finally become what we call the specialist or consultant. And all up, it's about 15 years from today. It's likely you'll become a specialist after you're 30 years old. Medicine, just like the HSC, is a marathon, not a sprint. You take it one step at a time. So apart from being a GP, there are over 20 medical and surgical specialties, from anesthesia, dermatology, emergency, including general practice, intensive care, to say palliative medicine, where you assist people in their last days. Pathology, psychiatry, surgery. You're small for choice. Other avenues for a medical degree, you might go into medical legal, you might decide you want to go into academia and become a lecturer or do research. Politics, medical journalism, even law, medical administration, consultancy. Your medical degree is versatile. The future. Medicine in the future is going to be spectacular. It's going to be robotics, artificial intelligence, medical advancements. We'll find a cure, perhaps, hopefully, for cancer, and ways to live longer, healthier lives. Effective vaccines for COVID and other infections. We should really be excited about this. Tips, maximize your chances. Let's talk about that. Now, we need a game plan, like a strong basketball team or soccer team, like Roger Federer, the tennis legend. You need to have a game plan. Now, if I were you, I'd do the following. With UCAT, prepare now. Year 11 is the best time. You have 15 months, more than a year to refine your skills. With ATAR, you want to study ahead. In terms of subjects, you probably want to limit it to around 10 units and focus on those 10 units really, really well. Do some sciences, some subjects you enjoy and will do well in. Parents, you can support your child by giving them space and quiet so they can concentrate. And with each of the subjects, you want to probably aim for top 5, top 10. Any more than 10 units, you're overreaching and stressing yourself out. HSE is an ATAR maximizing game. You also want to look into early access schemes like UCIDS E12 and UNSW's Gateway. They introduced that last year. And then finally, the interview. You want to do some extracurricular activities at school. You need to boost your CV so you stand out from all the other candidates, hundreds of candidates. You can see this in the CV template in your handouts. There's a list of extracurricular activities. So things like prefect, SRC, sports on committees, work experience. If you work somewhere, you can talk about it in your interview. Places like McDonald's, fantastic. Teamwork, fast-paced, customer service. Clinical placements, this is really important. Perhaps ask your school career advisor to help you organize, calling up Liverpool Hospital or your local hospital. And if not hospital, consider a place like the nursing home or ask to sit in with your GP. There's an association around here in Cabramatta called AHHA, the Australian Health Humanitarian Aid. And they've taken some of my past students to volunteer medically in countries like Cambodia, doing, say, eye treatments or oral treatments. By getting clinical experience, you'll better appreciate what doctors and dentists do. Plan B. What happens if you don't get into medicine after year 12? And to this very day, I still get messages from students who fall short in their UCAT, ATAR, and or their interview. I've had friends who sat UMAT 5 times and still did not do well enough to get an interview. Most of them persisted, sat GAMSAT a few times, and eventually got into postgraduate medicine and dentistry. And if you ask them, they'll tell you it was not easy. Some things in life do not go as planned. We need a plan B. So you have 4 options. And if you find yourself in this situation, I would say to you, it's simply not your time yet, but your time will come. So number 1, you can apply to no UCAT med courses. Please see this in your list of medical schools I've printed for you. All the medical courses that don't require UCAT require you to move outside of New South Wales. Most are in Queensland. One such example is Bond Medicine, the university who has the interviews next week. And it's located in Gold Coast, Queensland. It costs for the 4 years and 8 months, the entire course, it costs over $400,000. That's around 7 times more than the Commonwealth supported place at, say, University of New South Wales or Western Sydney University. And we haven't even accounted for accommodation and living costs and the costs of preparing again for UCAT and all these other admission tests. Your second option is to take a gap year, a year where you do not go to university after high school. It is a break or gap in your studies. You might do this if you have a high ATAR, say 99.5, and you don't want to start university, because once you do, your marks, your university marks, will be considered when you apply to medicine. Generally, universities take the average of ATAR and university marks. So if your uni grades are passes, credits, not distinctions, not high distinctions, they will drag down your high ATAR. Another reason, some universities like the University of Adelaide do not accept students who've started a university course elsewhere. Now, the advantages of a gap year, you get to use your high ATAR, you get time to prepare again for the UCAT, and time to do more experiences. So clinical experiences, work experiences, gain life experiences. The disadvantage, though, is that there is a risk. What happens if you don't do well in UCAT again? You'll have no course to fall back on. Your third option is to do another course for a year. Remember, I studied pharmacy for a year and we sat UMAT. The advantage of this is that you have a course to fall back on if UCAT does not work out. But the disadvantages are, number one, cost. It costs about $10,000 for a Commonwealth supported place every year at university. And time, it's a whole year. And emotional stress, the need to maintain distinctions, high distinctions, is not easy. Students often ask me, hey, Alex, if I don't get into medicine right after year 12, because either a poor UCAT or ATAR, what courses should I do? You may do any course. So science, medical science, law, engineering, commerce, but whatever you choose, make sure you enjoy it and that you can achieve great grades, strong grades. Some courses like medical science, pharmacy, optometry are more difficult than others. But on the other hand, it's these very courses, these health courses, that have relevance to medicine. Also, you need to have a plan that UCAT may not work out again, and you need to fall back and be happy with whatever you choose. Medical science here is a special case. Some universities such as UNSW, Monash, Macquarie, Australian National University, allows its students, so if you study med-sci, biomedical science at their university, to enter graduate medicine, 4 years. Sometimes needing UCAT again, or GAMSAT again, or the interview. And essentially, you're using your med-sci degree and you're being treated as a postgraduate applicant. You get to study medicine for 4 years, so it saves time. And finally, your fourth option is the postgraduate medicine. Remember the pathway at the bottom of the flowchart? You need to sit the GAMSAT and you'll be in university for 7 years. Now, Plan B involves hard decisions, ones that only you can make yourself. That's why, guys, UCAT is so important, and getting into medicine right after year 12 is the least painful and the quickest, smoothest way. It's the best way. While not getting in wouldn't be the end of the world, it will cost you money and time and emotional stress. Now, I want to talk about how I can help you prepare. At Ngo & Sons, I personally teach the intensive UCAT course and interview training. I mentor students into medicine and dentistry for 3 main reasons. Number 1, I care about you. It's satisfying helping good people do good things. I'll be invested in you. I'll believe in you. I'll be like your older brother. 2, I enjoy mentoring you. I enjoy adding value to and connecting with motivated leaders like yourself. And 3, I believe I can help you win. Getting students into medicine and dentistry is one thing I feel I do better than others. So at Ngo & Sons, there are 3 things we can help you with. The UCAT course in April, the mock exam in June, and medicine interview training from November to February. Now, last year in 2020, 14,000 people sat the UCAT, just over, fighting for less than 3,000 positions in undergraduate medical schools around Australia. That's about 1 in 5 people making it through. There's a long queue to get into medicine. And people who were unsuccessful last year will reapply. And those before them will also reapply. So you can imagine creating a build-up along the queue. And with time, this queue will get only longer. We're not talking about only year 12s, but also university students, established professionals, nurses, hospital staff, as well as students from overseas competing for these places. I see my job as getting you closer to the front of this queue, this massive queue, where the yellow is. So let's talk about the Ngo & Sons Intensive UCAT course. First of all, who is the April UCAT course for? It is for Year 11s, 12s, and university students. One of the most common questions I get asked is, when should I start preparing for UCAT? The best time is now. And the best time is in Year 11. In some students even preparing Year 10. As a Year 11, you get 15 months versus 3 months in Year 12 to learn, practice, and refine UCAT skills. And 2, Year 11s have less workload and stress than Year 12s. Year 12 tends to get busy, as I'm sure some of you guys already know. Now, this timeline illustrates that. The No Sun's UCAT strategy timeline. In Year 11, you have 15 months. In Year 12, you have only about 3 months. The official UCAT is in July and August 2021. And then the interviews happen November, February interviews. And then next year, the same thing. In terms of how No Sons and myself, how I can help you, is in April, soon, next month, we have the intensive UCAT course. Then in June, right before the official UCAT exam, we have the June mock exam. And then after you get your results and right around the time you get invited for interviews, after your HSC, we have interview training. If you're in Year 11, you have 15 months to prepare. Make sure you don't lose that advantage. And if you're in Year 12, it's not too late, but you should be making an active, strong effort in your prep. If you concentrate, practice diligently, you can do very well. I've seen students improve in a matter of months. So when is the course? The intensive UCAT course is 3 days long, in April 5th to the 7th, 2021, and that's the first week of school holidays. It goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. It's quite productive and focused. It's in 1 month. So on day 1, we'll learn verbal reasoning. Day 2, decision-making and quantitative reasoning. Day 3, abstract reasoning and situational judgment. A mock exam day is held at the end of June, just before you sit your exam in July. And this is our last chance to come together before your real exam. The mock exam allows you to see how you compared with other students and your peers. Then we review the paper together and I clarify any final concerns that you have, so you can go into your exam feeling ready and confident. Features of the intensive UCAT course. 1, it's online interactive expert teaching. So I personally teach the classes and we use Zoom. Why online? 3 main reasons. 1, it's appropriate. Official UCAT is a computer-based exam, so it's appropriate that we train using the computer. Eco-friendly, a plus. 2, it's efficient. You get to use your own computer at home or your office. Front row seat, and you save on commute time. 3, effective. You get the same high quality teaching as you would in person. You'll see my shared screen clearly with whiteboard feature, and you can interact live with myself through polls. Ask me questions privately. Shy students feel at ease and supported. I've deconstructed the 5 UCAT subtests and characterized each by question type. We have the syllabus for you. We learn in an organized, systematic, and methodical manner. Other places don't really do that or do it properly. And at other places, you may get taught by a first year or second year medical student with little teaching experience, who treat it like a weekend job, side job. I finished university, I do this full time. Many people buy online resources, textbooks, but they still don't do well. Why? They have heaps of questions, but they don't know how to do them. I teach you the how. I teach you the techniques. Verbal reasoning, I teach you how to read more quickly and better understand passages, how to problem solve, how to calculate mathematical questions, how to find patterns in that really strict 14-second time limit, and how to behave in personal and professional situations, relationships for situational judgment. The study plan. After we train together, you'll be clear on what you need to do and have a plan. Second, relevant, practical, and to the point. All the material we go through, I handpick specific questions to highlight a certain idea. Some questions may look similar, but actually require different approach. And it's not until someone highlights the differences that you'll notice. Third reason, after the April holiday course, after you learn the techniques, you'll have access to our online resources, a high quality recording of our session and full course notes, and know enough to revise and practice on your own. With Medify, the most experienced UCAT question bank provider, you have over 10,000 questions to practice. And of course, you have ongoing support. If you have questions and concerns, you're more than welcome to email me. So just about Medify, they have a very strong replica which of the real UCAT exam, which is super useful. So Ngo & Sons has a partnership with Medify, and Medify is the largest UCAT resources provider in the world. At least 1 in 2 UCAT students use them. They've been around since 2009. Year 12s get access to this immediately until 12th of August 2021, about 4 months. Year 11s, you get access after August 2021, lasting until your UCAT in July 2022, about 12-month subscription. I've set this for your benefit because I've seen in the past years, Year 11s don't really use it before August. So, and then the plan expires and money's wasted. But if you're motivated and you wish to start Medify immediately from April this year until August next year, you can do so for an additional $200 payable. If you wish to start your Medify in April and you're in year 11, please select this option in your enrollment form. Through Ngo & Sons, you get unlimited support. You get to email me for help. You get to join our private group. As a group admin, I can see your performance, identify your weaker areas to help you improve. I can also see if you're slacking off and not doing questions, so I'll keep you accountable. And lastly, there's a renewal discount. It's exclusive, greater than 20%. We've had decent results in the past. Typically, 50% of our students achieve UCAT scores above 80th percentile. That's quite a strong, decent score. I mean, some students then get interviews, others don't. I need you to have realistic expectations. This UCAT exam isn't easy. Not everyone does well in UCAT, and it depends on, number 1, the student's baseline level, and 2, how much they practice and prepare. You may have unproductive study habits ingrained in you, developed over many years, and that takes time to unlearn. I don't guarantee that you will get in, but I do guarantee that you will improve. Move closer to the front of the queue. In terms of fees, Medify Question Bank only is $250. Comes with access and support. The intensive UCAT course, 3 days, $850. If you get both the Medify and UCAT course, a very popular option, the bundle special, it's $1,000 and you save $100. And if you find 2 other friends, then you get another $100 discount. So it'll be $900 for each of you. The course is priced fairly, and we aim to give you good value. This is very much an important investment in your future. And if you'd like to enroll, you simply do it online. You have the QR codes on your enrollment sheets, and you can also hand in your physical forms to the reception at Fairfield, Parramatta, or Hurstville. We also have the mock exam day, and that's $250 for each student, or if you're joining with 2 other students, $220. Medicine interview training. Ah, yes, my favorite second subject. I'm one of the few tutors, probably the only one, who's been following university interview questions since 2008. I have most of the past questions asked at different universities. At Yo & Sons, we run interview training from November to February. After you get your UCAT score, please email me if you think you're likely to get an interview if you scored above 90th percentile or 85 percentile. That way I can personalize classes to help you. In interview training, we'll tackle all aspects of the interview. You'll learn the psychology of interviews and the interviewers. You become a better storyteller, exuding charisma. We'll work on articulating your life experiences into concise, compelling responses. We'll analyze likely questions and past questions, discuss the university courses you can apply for, discuss interview structures and formats, as we said, semi-structured and MMIs, and then mastering delivery, things like your voice, your non-verbal mannerisms, posture, gesture, dress, grooming. And finally, we'll practice using mock interviews. We'll simulate the real interview. I'll ask you questions, you role play, you answer, and I'll give you constructive feedback. This is highly effective when done just days before your real interview. We video record our entire sessions so that you can review and improve. As your mentor, I want to help you, not only at the interview stage. As your mentor, I will be honest in my feedback. I want you to not see the interview stage as a hurdle, but rather as an opportunity to shine. I aim to help you show the interviewers how deserving you are and present yourself in the best light. Just like UCAT, preparing for your interview is important, but far too many people neglect it. They think they can wing it. Then they fail, and then the next year come to me to prepare. And if you get an interview, please don't gamble your chances by not preparing. After you get into med, I'll also share study tips and textbook recommendations and scholarship tips with you. I'll teach you how to thrive in med school. Positive reviews. I've got over 60 positive reviews, which you may like to read by following the QR code on your FAQ sheet and links on handout. Here's a recent one from a girl called Rebecca. She was an excellent student and really deserved to get in. I've worked with Alex during my interview training. He's genuinely one of the most caring and knowledgeable mentors I have met. Our sessions, whether they were group or one-to-one, tend to be very personalized. We focus on making the best anecdotes from my personal life. That way, my answers followed all the criteria, but were also very unique to me that helped me make an effect on the interviewer. Now I'm a first-year medical student at UNSW, one of my most preferred universities, and I'm certain that our sessions have gotten me to where I am today. Alex didn't focus on academics only. He focused on my confidence and motivation constantly. I was able to go into the interview with the right mindset and the right techniques to gain my place in medical school. I was so happy for her. I felt she was like my little sister. And last year with online teaching was a very, very successful year for myself and my students. So many got into medicine and dentistry all around Australia. UQ, UCID, JMP, Western Sydney, UNSW, Adelaide. Really proud of all of them. I'm hoping I can get next week's students into biomedicine. And importantly, I'm hoping I can get you into medicine as well. So I'd like to summarize what we've learned tonight. Medicine is challenging, but meaningful. It's highly competitive. We need a strong UCAT, ATAR, and interview. UCAT is important. Prepare now. Year 11s, you have the luxury of time, and Year 12s is not too late. If you're sitting on the fence wondering, should I do medicine or not? I suggest you sit the UCAT anyway to keep your options open. Who knows? You may decide you want to pursue medicine and dentistry by the end of Year 12. No UCAT practice goes to waste. If you'd like help, Noah & Sons offers UCAT training and also medicine interview training. I aim to get you into medicine and dentistry. And even if you don't train with me, that's fine. Make sure you do training elsewhere, or at least on your own. Don't underestimate this exam. It can undo all the hard work you've put into your HSC and BCE. Here are some important dates. So we have our info evening here. We have the UCAT course in April 5th to 7th. Then for the mock exam, we have on June the 27th. The official UCAT registration's open tomorrow. So please remember, register tomorrow, Year 12s among us. The official exam is in July and August. Then in September, at the end of September, 28th, 30th, most university and UAC applications are due. October, November, that's when your HSC exams begin and finish. And then interview time is after November, and we have interview workshops to help you. Mid-December is when we get our ATAR results. And finally, from January, we get our UAC offers. Some offers are also released in December, the early round offers, but the main rounds are in January. So in concluding, I want to say that life is very short. Whether you decide to do medicine or dentistry or neither, we just want you to find fulfillment and be a force for good in the world. As Jersey Gregoric says, hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life. Do your best and forget the rest. And that's all we ask. It's time we reduce playing video games, boys, I know you, and excess time on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Please respect your parents and your teachers. And importantly, remember always those who have helped you along the way. That's right. When you become a doctor, you must remember me and all the Ngo and Son staff. When we're old and frail, we'll need you to help out fix our sore backs. And if you become dentists, we want free toothpaste. Thank you to the Ngo and Son staff for helping me tonight. My colleagues, they're the best. I'm so grateful to have them. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found tonight insightful. Please read the information sheets. I look forward to meeting some of you in April. Thank you. Good luck.